K45, we are back. It is the All Out Show. Rude Jude and Lord Sear. What's going on?
All right, sitting across from me, I have Ricardo Baca, the editor of The Cannabis, and you also did the beat. You're like the head writer of Weed for the Denver Post. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. I'm the lead marijuana writer there.
It's fucking, man, we live in cool times, huh?
It's the future.
And we have the producer. Is that the right?
Producer and director.
Producer and director of Rolling Papers, the documentary about the coverage of the legalization of marijuana in Denver.
The coolest doc following the coolest job, I guess you would say.
All right, so like this was, it was kind of crazy watching it unfold from the outside. Like, okay, they're about to make weed legal out in fucking, like over here in California it's been legal, but it's like, oh, it's for cataracts and cancer, but like, no, it's not. It's for fucking, it's for everybody. You know what I mean? Right. So you guys were like, fuck all of the little bullshit. We're gonna make weed legal. What was that like?
That was a total trip. Yeah, because you're exactly right. Yeah, here in California, you have the largest unregulated medical marijuana system in the world.
Yeah.
And in Colorado, we had regulated medical and quickly changing public opinion, which just set the stage for a vote on recreational marijuana right as those national numbers started shifting into acceptance. And suddenly you have a majority of acceptance. 55% Americans think that cannabis should be legal and regulated and taxed. And
what do you think that's from, Ricardo? Do you think that's from like just hippies getting old and there was a lot more people that were smoking marijuana and just saw that it wasn't as bad as it was made out to be in health class?
I think in part, absolutely. I think it's in part recognizing that we were lied to in health class.
Yeah.
You know, and how tragic is that our educators were lying to us throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Kind of what they do. It's kind of their deal.
But I think it's also a proliferation of information, living in this renaissance of information and data on what cannabis truly is, you know, and what we've learned in the last, 5-10 years specifically is that
what have you learned?
Well, this is a safer substance, a safer intoxicant than a majority of the other things out there. Way safer than alcohol.
Yeah.
Less addictive than alcohol, than nicotine, than opioids. So that's where we're at.
Well, here's another question: are you seeing more marijuana-related car crashes and things of that nature?
You know, it's interesting. The new numbers just came out from the Colorado State Patrol for 2015, which was the second year of these legal sales. And what they showed was that marijuana-related DUIs in 15 actually went down from 2014. So we had the legal sales in both years. And in fact, the argument could be made that there were more officers trained to detect these specific marijuana-related DUIs in 2015 than there were 14. But we're seeing those numbers going down, which shows, people are taking it seriously. People are being responsible.
Mitch, what did you learn that you didn't know about weed from finishing this doc?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have any interest in the fucking debate. The Colorado voters in 2012 said we want it legal, so that wasn't at all on the film. So seeing the culture, seeing the way the journalists responded to everything was fucking awesome. And the culture is so rich. These guys are geniuses. I mean, we actually had a weed genius as one of our characters, Rye Pritchard. I mean, what he knows about cannabis is more than I know about anything else. And just the number of characters that we met throughout this, the culture, the Cannabis Cup, these are seriously smart and talented people that take this plant seriously. And, for the most part, there's 2 deaths that have been loosely linked to marijuana, but for the most part, it went pretty damn well in the first year of legalization.
Now, what I'm seeing a lot is in Michigan and in places out here is because it's not fully legal, they're kind of operating on the outskirts of the law, and there's a lot of armed robberies that are going on. People also are having their plants stolen from them, grow houses raided and broken into. Are you seeing a lot of that in Colorado?
Not so much because, again, it's about the regulations. Yeah, here, in absence of regulations, you can have these crimes happen, and there's no specifics for.
You can't go to anybody. It's not like it's not like someone shows up and you're a you're kind of on the fringe of dealing drugs. You just can't go anywhere.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that some of these dispensary raids aren't from criminals, they're from police who are going after these dispensaries that are operating in the fringes of the law and saying, we can do this. And of course, there was the famous case, I believe in Santa Ana early in last year, where the police came in and took down all the security system, but there were a couple cameras they missed.
Oh.
And then there they are playing darts and making jokes and saying disparaging things about the dispensary manager who was a paraplegic in a wheelchair. And it looked like they were eating edibles in the security footage that remained. So
How much different weed do you get to try being like, and what are you liking right now? I always hear like, tell me some of the top fucking lines of like, what are some of the best, like, I always hear rappers talking about Cookie, and then my buddy was telling me about some shit like something about Orangey or something like that. Is there something with oranges in
Tangy,
it?
there's Tangy, yeah.
That's the one.
That's Tangy.
Tangy?
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with oranges? It's not tangerines
Yeah,
or
it's
no
tangerine.
shit?
It's that
Absolutely.
taste.
Okay.
Those fucking connoisseurs get crazy. I mean, what they can taste out of it's like a wine sommelier, you know, what they come up with. That tastes like lemongrass.
Are you seeing now that it is legal, are there any major players like tobacco companies, liquor companies that are trying to get involved in selling marijuana?
You know, we haven't seen that yet. But with the numbers and the sales and the taxes that are being driven from this industry, it's only a matter of time before big pharma, big tobacco come knocking. In fact, we just had an exclusive piece of news from our partner, the Boulder Daily Camera, last week about there's this giant campus, a corporate campus available outside of Boulder, and a pharmaceutical company that's looking to get into the marijuana space is rumored to be looking at this giant corporate campus outside of Boulder, Colorado. So it's only a matter of time before those industries start peeking their nose in, and probably they already have. We just haven't read about it yet.
Has what is the legalization of marijuana done to the pricing of weed? Because part of buying drugs is you're paying for the risk. And
Right.
Since the risk has gone away, what has the prices done?
You know, it started very high for these recreational sales in
Like-
early 2014.
Like what was the quarter? What was the eighth going for? That's a decent.
Yeah, I
can
think
get a
$20 a gram.
Okay.
Eighth, I forget what those prices
so
were.
it's like $70 an eighth, 65 an eighth, some shit like that.
Yeah, and now the prices have settled a little bit, but you're still paying more than you would if it was black market.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because of taxing?
It's a little bit of both. This is a free market. This is not a government-dictated market, so these entrepreneurs can charge whatever they want. And so when you combine that with 25 to 28% taxes on recreational weed, that's
No
what you're
shit.
looking at.
What's that money going towards? Do you know what the tax money is? What they're putting it on?
Sure. Yeah, we just got the final numbers for 2015.
Okay.
Actually, it was $996 million in
Off
sales.
of fucking weed.
And
$1
that's
billion.
sales. $1 billion in sales in Colorado alone.
And then how much of that?
135 million in taxes, 35 million of which went directly toward a school construction fund that was created with Amendment 64.
That's awesome.
And then it's also going into infrastructure and primarily drug education for youths
If
throughout
we
the
can
state.
just start taxing churches, we'll just be fucking. We'll be golden, right?
Good luck with that.
We'll just fucking just start taxing churches.
I saw it going clear.
Did you? Yeah. 888-742-3345. 888-742-3345. We have the producer director Mitch Dickman here of Rolling Papers and Ricardo Baca. You used to be a music critic for the Denver Post, and then you became the beat writer. Dog, you kind of avoided this question. How much fucking free weed are you getting, dude? Like, cause I know I get a bunch of shitty mixtapes, cause I work on the fucking.
We've got one coming for you.
I bet you do, man.
Old little motherfucker in
You
his
better
parents'
have
basement.
You better have a fucking ounce tape to that shit.
We'll figure that shit out.
Straight up.
You know, I mean, we have an ethics policy at the Post, so we can accept certain things, but nothing of any value. And I have to tell you, I don't smoke weed. I just eat it.
But you, that just hurt my brain. All right, so like, all right, so you don't smoke weed. So you're not actually a weed reviewer. You're more talking about the legal stuff that is going on, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the weed editor. I've hired multiple pot critics, people who have the most spectacular palates. One of them is in Rolling Papers. His name is Jake Brown. He's a super taster. He's one of those people who can't eat cilantro because it tastes like soap. But he picks up the details and the notes of anything that he eats or drinks or smells, and he makes for a fantastic weed critic.
That is awesome. 888-742-3345. 888-742-3345. Let's let's go to C Boogie. Yo, C Boogie, what up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing, man?
Good. Go ahead. You got the fellas here.
Yeah, quick question. I'm on the road, man. I'm a truck driver. I'm calling from Virginia. Basically, I got a couple of friends of mine that wanted me to help invest in a machine. I forgot the name of the machine, but it's a machine used for like processing after a harvest, where it gets you readouts of the THC levels in, your plant and your harvest. Like I did research before, knowing that before the harvest goes to the dispensary, like certain levels, like 19 to 23 was like high levels or whatever. But my friend is telling me the machine he has, he wants to upgrade it because he had a harvest that came out that was like 25 to 28, and I want to know if there's any truth, because in Oregon, he's saying there's not many places to go to get your harvest processed to get these readouts before they can be sold to the dispensary.
So is first off, I guess the first question is there's money to be made in all aspects of this, and he's talking about a weed testing for THC. That was basically
a major part of this new industry are the cannabis testing facilities that are now spread throughout the West Coast, Colorado, and now finding themselves on the East Coast.
And for the layman, I send in the weed and it tells me how much THC is in it.
Exactly. So, these machines that you might be referring to, they're called either HPLC or mass spectrometers.
Okay.
They really are chemistry, biological grade computers that will measure the potency.
Okay.
For one, so how much THC is in a plant, and you're right, the mid to high 20s. That's as high as you can get right now. They can also measure for the presence of residual solvents. So you're using butane or CO2 to extract the THC, and they can also measure to detect the pesticides and microbials, things like mold.
Because it has become such a cash crop, and I imagine they're trying to keep up with demand. You said that they had almost $100 million in sales. Are you seeing a lot of people cutting corners? I hear a big complaint is, they're using a ton of fertilizer and
pesticides.
Pesticides that's not good for you, and people are smoking that.
We've helped lead this conversation throughout the U.S. Because regulated cannabis can work, and you can see this in Colorado with the state's governor, John Hickenlooper, even Denver Mayor Michael Hancock are coming around to the idea that regulated cannabis market can work, but it has to be responsible. And that's just one part of the equation. What we found when we did an investigation and some testing in one of these cannabis testing facilities is that a lot of these companies are using pesticides that are banned for use on cannabis. Pesticides are governed by the EPA. You don't mess with the EPA.
Yeah.
And so, that's certainly a big story that we've been following for about 7 or 8 months.
Is that a common occurrence with weed? So do you really have to be careful about the stuff you're getting?
You definitely do, because, the marijuana industry will make the point that, these chemicals, myclobutanil, imidacloprid, they're being used on our strawberries and grapes, and that's very true. But the pattern of a strawberry or grape where you wash it and then eat it is very different than the pattern of use for a bud where you're, exposing it to severe heat, which absolutely changes chemical compounds and sometimes concentrates that chemical to begin with. So, and then you're inhaling it directly into your bloodstream. So you just need to be conscientious, Yeah,
you're not smoking a fucking strawberry, basically.
Absolutely.
All right, let's play a song. Come on back. 888-742-3345. The documentary is called Rolling Papers. Where can people see this?
It's in 25 cities across the country, but video on demand, iTunes, Google Play, Xbox, Eurobox, whatever. It's all over the place.
Check it out, y'all. Here's a little Bin Laden weed. I don't know, my shit's not working. Hold up. Here's a little Bin Laden weed.
Man.
There it is.
Oh,
Sounds good, right?
This is the All Out Show on Shade 45.